People who work in gun shops, what are some red flags you've seen that made you deny a sale? I had one guy who was a resident from another state come in and say that he wanted to buy a CZP-07. I told him I legally can't sell pistols to out-of-state residents, and he got pissed and stormed off. Maybe 20 minutes later he comes back with his brother, who was an in-state resident, and as soon as his brother walks up to the counter he points to the exact same gun and says, "I want to buy that one." He didn't even ask to hold it or look at it first. That's a clear straw purchase. I told them to kick rocks. I'm not going to break the law for you. I had another guy try to buy a shotgun and answered yes to having been convicted of a felony. I asked him if he was actually a felon. You'd be surprised how many guys accidentally check the wrong box. This dude looked at me and said, "Yeah, is that a problem?" Dude, yes, it's a problem. As they were talking with me about various aspects of the purchase, they would occasionally consult with the person that was with them. There was no person with them. I can tell you one time when I almost got denied for purchasing a rifle. It was a bolt action .308 made by Savage. The rifle came with a scope. Not great, but just a little extra over their standard rifle in that package. The store was over an hour away, and so I invited my younger brother to keep me company during the ride. He was 17 or 18 at the time. As I was wrapping up the sale, we had friendly banter back and forth with the salesman, and I was talking about videos of several men pegging pop cans at 1000 meters with this gun. And my brother, for whatever stupid reasons I can only attribute to being young and dumb, says, "Yay, we need to test it on some people." Dumbfounded, I just looked at him, and I was just thinking, what the hell, why would you say that? The salesman was understanding and very kindly replied, "You need to be careful with that language. I can refuse this sale to you." I politely apologized and reprimanded my brother for saying something that ridiculous. A friend of mine sold guns at a sporting goods store a while ago. He had to deny a guy a gun sale of an AR-15 because the customer was wearing a bulletproof vest. People don't just walk around with bulletproof vests unless they're looking for trouble. The gun store I worked at had a varied and diverse clientele. Usually, that meant that more law-abiding citizens were looking to purchase firearms, but the usual wacko or two would come by. The one I remember clearest was the guy who came in and wanted to see only two types of firearms, a pistol grip shotgun and a large frame revolver. As I was asking him what he wanted those specific types of firearms for, since they aren't really the greatest for home defense or personal protection, he tells me that he wants a revolver because it won't leave evidence at the scene of a shooting. I noped out of that one and told him we didn't have the type of equipment he was in search of. I passed along his name to the local police, but nothing ever came of it. I used to work as management in Walmart, and as such had to be licensed to do any job in the store, including firearm sales. There had been many cases of background checks not clearing, which is normal. One that I made a judgment call to refuse, however, was the guy who kept joking that he most certainly was not under any circumstances going to use this .22 rifle to shoot his wife. You get all sorts of rednecks who think they're hilarious while they're gearing up for the next hunting season, but by the third time he brought up not shooting his wife, I just shut down the entire process. He had him removed from the building after his breakdown turned verbally aggressive. I denied a handful of sales in 2 years. Attempted straw purchase, not malicious. This was usually a wife buying for her husband for a gift, but had no idea what to get. It's legal but a little sketchy. Illegal purchase by out-of-state residents. This happened the most frequently. You can purchase from a legal source only if you are a resident of that state or one that adjoins it. First-time buyers are frequently not aware of this. Stank of marijuana. Could not have accurately filled out a 4473. Could not shoulder a weapon. Would have posed a massive danger to himself or others. The people who raise behavioral red flags almost exclusively shop for handguns, which my store didn't sell, or are just looking because they are too poor to afford even a $200 12 gauge. Aside from the many obvious straw sales at my store and several attempts to make purchases with a credit card under the wrong name and many people who were obviously high or drunk, I almost got through the sale with one guy who wanted to buy a handgun. He was a little jittery and weird, but not quite enough to refuse the sale. But then he started talking about the possibility of the coming apocalypse and the inevitable race war. He mentioned how every race has committed genocide at some point. He didn't hate any particular race, but obviously, we all have to stick together if it comes down to it. I explained that, despite our matching skin tones, he and I were not on the same page. Our store was not going to provide him with a firearm. He actually left without any argument. This was at my old job. So this man comes in at 9:30, 30 minutes before closing. He has his 2 kids with him, and both of them look uncomfortable and won't make eye contact. The man is acting a little strange too, and I feel pretty uneasy about it already, but I chalk all that up to maybe they are just a socially awkward family. So, as we're doing the paperwork, the man is telling me about his life and what all is going on in it currently. Then he says he's divorcing his wife and starts complaining about all the things he doesn't like about her. His kids still haven't spoken a word or looked up, but they are so uncomfortable at this point that they are constantly shifting their arms and legs. I pretend to keep filling out the form while listening closely to what the man is saying. He mumbles under his breath, all almost where I couldn't hear him. Sometimes I could just kill her. I was an 18-year-old girl, completely alone on that entire half of the store, and I was flipping my absolute crap inside. I pretended not to hear him and kept filling out the form while actually cancelling it. Then I said, okay, I'm at the point where I need a manager's approval for the form to go through. 1 second and let me get him and get the gun out of the back room. So I go to the manager's office and I tell my manager, there's a man wanting to buy a gun and I think he's going to kill his wife with it. He says, okay, let me handle it and you stay in here until I come back. By the time he comes back, it's already half an hour past when my shift ended. He said he had to get the police to escort the man out of the store, and I believe he was arrested, but I can't entirely remember since it was a good many years ago. That memory still scares me, because what if I hadn't have heard him? I was the only thing standing between him buying a gun that night to shoot his wife. I still wonder about what happened to them. I used to sell firearms when I was in college, only for a few years through 2016 to 2018. There were a few times where I denied people that weren't already denied by the next check. Probably the most absurd was a guy asked me what gun will have the most blowback if somebody comes in my house. I want to see him fly in another room like the movies. That was an auto deny from me and contacted my manager. Not sure what happened after that. Usually, we would call all the other gun stores in the area within an hour's half drive and share information. Another one was a younger guy came in and asked, would you recommend this gun for suicide, while filling out paperwork. I denied him as well and reported it to my manager like the one above. The majority of people that will be denied already know they can't own guns, don't bother. This kind of surprised me when I started. I thought denies would have been way more frequent. I've overheard a co-worker working the firearms department be asked, I need to see if it fits in this backpack first. A school backpack. Cue me standing behind him and waving at my co-worker silently with that do not pass go, do not collect $200 wave you do with your hands kinda crossing, shaking my head, mouthing no, hell no. He didn't get sold anything, and the store owner alerted the ATF and FBI after we briefed him on what happened. No idea what happened to him, but concealed weapon or not, he wasn't getting a gun from us. One time, the buyer brought in his 10-year-old son with him during our Glock sale day. He was being very discreet around his son about buying a gun. He asked me to see a Glock. I released the mag and cleared the G17 and handed him the gun. He holds it with both hands viewing the side while pointing in his son's direction, and click. I told him you just pulled the trigger and your son is standing there. He said yes, but the gun wasn't loaded. I countered by taking the gun back and refusing to sell him a gun unless he took a crash course with our shop instructor. He agreed as long as it would be quick enough where his son wouldn't notice. We asked him to leave and gained a negative Yelp review out of it too. A guy asked me, hey, could this shoot through wood, to which I responded, depends on what type. Are you thinking of going hunting or something? I asked this because I assumed he was talking about like branches from a tree. He then said no, I mean like a door. This confused me, but I carried on to ask him if he needed it specifically for a door or just the type of wood from it. Then he says the thing that scared me. No, I need it for a door like in a house. My boss was finishing the background check and decided to let the customer and his friend test fire in the range while they wait. They pass the check, but as he goes to tell them, he overhears them saying things like, "Yep, he's gonna get what's coming to him and just wait. He's dead the next time I see him." Boss pretended the check didn't fail, but that the problem is on the checker's end. They'll have to come back tomorrow. As soon as they leave, the boss called the cops and every other dealer in town to warn them. Cops picked the two guys up later that day. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, hit like, get subscribed, and tell us which story surprised you the most in the comment section, and support the original writers with upvotes. Links in the description box.